Hello, everyone, and welcome to the AdCap Show. So, America is changing and is changing very fast. The change is happening in all fields, from economic to social to cultural. And guess what? This change is not seen as a positive change by the majority of the American population. And when I say majority of the American population, I mean white Christian population, which is still in the majority in America. However, their population is on radical decline. It's estimated that in the next 15 years, America will become majority non-white country. This is creating friction within American socio-political discourse, and not to mention, America is a declining power. So even the economy is not as productive as what it used to be once upon a time. Now, the question is why this is happening and what's the solution? Or should we assume that America is now coming to its final conclusion? If you ask these questions to Americans, they will say this is happening because of too much of immigration. They'll say that let's deport everybody or reduce visa numbers. But what if I tell you that white people are heading towards becoming a minority not because of immigration but because of America itself? It's the America and the American dream which is destroying the whiteness of America. You see, America is not a country but an empire, and this empire is the biggest empire the humanity has ever seen. Whether it's good or bad, it depends on whom, when, and where you ask. So, what is an empire? An empire is a large group of territories or countries ruled by a single powerful leader, like an emperor or a central government. Think of it like a big organized system where one main authority controls many different places, often with diverse culture and people, sometimes far apart. But America's empire isn't defined by colonies in a traditional sense, but by its economic dominance, military bases in over 70 countries, and cultural exports that shape global trends. The dollar is the world's reserve currency, Hollywood sets the cultural tone, and American tech giants like Apple and Google dominate innovation. This global reach has made America a magnet for people worldwide, drawing millions to its shore in pursuit of so-called American dream. We live in the world which is controlled and governed by America. However, this will soon change. Empires come with complexities. They are inherently diverse, pulling in people from every corner of the globe. And while this diversity fuels innovation and economic growth, it also creates tensions, especially when the empire's core population begins to feel outnumbered or displaced. That's exactly what's happening in America today. Today's world can be divided into four different parts. Number one is America, which is currently the center of the world because it's the global hegemon and an empire. Then we have countries which are allies and vassals of the American empire. Countries like Britain, Japan, Germany, and probably the entire Europe is an ally slash vassal of the American empire. The third type are those countries which are neither allies slash vassals nor enemies of the American empire. Countries like India, Brazil, Indonesia can be put under such category. These countries maintain transactional relationship with America. Then comes the enemies in the fourth circle. Countries like Russia, Iran, North Korea can be regarded as enemies of the American empire who actively work to destroy it. I did not put China because America-China economic relationship is biggest in the human history, so technically they are not enemies. It's natural for the people from any country which fall in the next two layers to migrate to America because America is the best and it's not a country but an empire. Let me give you an example. This is the map of Japanese empire at its peak. It included China and the entire Southeast Asia. Now imagine if Japanese empire would have still existed in the 21st century, how Japan would have looked like. Do you think Japan as a country would have been homogeneous or diverse, full of different people from different cultures? Well, it would have been an extremely diverse society in the 21st century with people from China, Indonesia, Philippines, etc. constantly trying to migrate to mainland Japan because that's where the real prosperity and wealth lies. Local Japanese would have tolerated it as long as economy and productivity remained high, but once economy and productivity declines, frictions start. Different ethnic groups would compete for resources and cultural clashes would intensify. They would all clash within an empire. The state would try to balance things, but this decline is something which cannot be reversed, and that's where empires get two options. Either continue the status quo for as long as possible and have a violent, painful collapse, or slowly start dismantling the empire in order to have a soft landing. The kind of trade, innovation, communication, migration which has happened in the last 50 years around the world has not happened in the last 2000 years, and all this happened under the American Empire. In 1960, 84% of immigrants to the US came from Europe or Canada. By 2020, over 80% came from Latin America, Asia, or Africa. This has transformed America's demographic landscape, making it one of the most diverse nations on earth. This was the result of expansion of American influence. But now things are changing. Mainland America is finding it difficult to manage the system of its empire. Economy and productivity is on decline and frictions have already started. When resources are abundant, diversity is often celebrated. When they are scarce, competition breeds resentment. In communities where white Americans feel economically squeezed, the growing presence of non-white population can be scapegoated, even if immigration isn't the root cause. This dynamic mirrors historical empires where economic downturn often preceded ethnic or cultural conflicts. This decline is irreversible and leaves American empire with two options. Either continue the status quo for as long as possible and have a violent, painful collapse, or slowly start dismantling the empire in order to have a soft landing. This is the ethnic makeup of the USSR. The majority was Russian, but that was also just 50%. When the USSR broke up, everyone got their country. Today, everyone is majority on their soil. Now imagine if the USSR would have continued. It would have had a bloody end with people killing each other as Russian majority lose their control and influence over the empire. Now, I'm not saying that America needs to be balkanized in order to remain white majority, but it's definitely the time for American empire to slowly start dismantling itself before American empire start eating America, because that's how empires end. They eat themselves and become history. To be fair, even if American empire dismantles itself, it's probably too late for America to remain white, because apart from imperial reasons, there are other reasons too, like falling birth rates and aging society. The country depends on foreign workers to run, and without them, America will simply get deindustrialized like Russia, but in a bloodier way. So what America can do at max is slow down the pace at which the white population is shrinking, but that will also require right policies, which seems impossible to happen as of now. White Christian America is blaming immigration and calling for mass deportation without understanding the fact that large trees don't fall if you cut few small branches. Unlike the USSR, America has been on a constant clash with several countries around the world. This has resulted in America making more enemies, so we don't really know how these countries will react once America becomes too weak, because these countries would see white America as their enemy and not overall America. For example, according to American economist Jeffrey Sachs, CIA has overthrown 70 governments around the world between 1945 to 1989. Many countries and societies are still struggling to stand up because of America's criminal behavior. America did all this only to expand its influence without knowing that one day everything will return as a karma. Post-World War II, America went around the world preaching Americanism, which included democracy, capitalism, and Christianity. The problem with this was that America was not preaching but enforcing. This enforcement behavior has made many countries around the world come together against the American empire. In conclusion, America's transformation is both product of its imperial success and a harbinger of its potential decline. Just like how we don't see Romans anymore, we might not see white Anglo-Christians in the future anymore. That's how nature adjusts itself. It gets rid of imbalances in order to maintain the balance. If you found this analysis insightful, then don't forget to like and subscribe. Which option do you think is in America's fate? A violent, painful collapse or a planned, soft landing? Let's keep the convo going in comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.